dead or alive, you're coming with me. So I saw the new RoboCop, and I was a bit skeptical, and I have been for a long time. The original is simply a sci-fi classic masterpiece. Saying them both, that is. For many different reasons. I mean, RoboCop was this shockingly violent movie with all this really graphic violence, and they marketed the movie to children at the time, even though it had an R rating. But this version got a PG-13. I saw RoboCop on UPN as a kid, and I couldn't remember much. It wasn't until just a few years ago that I rewatched RoboCop on Netflix. Alex Murphy's death scene was probably one of the most brutal death scenes in history. So yeah, OCP buys the Detroit Police Department because their officers are dropping like flies. And their product, the Ed 209, fails at a board meeting because it shoots somebody up. So Bob Morton decides to go along with the RoboCop project. And all they need is someone to volunteer for the police department and get killed. And that poor schmuck happened to be Alex Murphy. And he partnered up with Ann Lewis. They chased after a bank robbery. They had no backup, decided to go into this abandoned warehouse. Murphy spotted the thug. However, he was ambushed, captured, tortured, and they were just messing with him. First they blew off his hand, blew off his arm, laughed at him. Well, give this man a hand. And then they took every gun and they shot him to pieces. I was a little worried that a scene like this couldn't work in today's climate. And I might have been right, because in the new version it's a little bit different. He gets killed in a car bomb, but there is the same theory behind it, even though it's not what Paul Van Hoosen, hope I pronounced his name right, had in mind, where I think he said he wanted his death scene to be like Jesus getting killed by the devil. And he justified that with the dad from that 70s show. Clarence Boddicker was probably the most vile villain in sci-fi film history. But they had different characters and a different approach in this new remake. And he gets killed in a car bomb, and he loses his limbs, and he gets really badly burnt. So I don't know if in this version they had the intention of creating him as a product, because the original RoboCop was more than just an action movie. It exemplified how the corporations were running our lives, and really the evil greed of the corporations, and putting it in sort of a comical sense. In the way I view OCP in the way that kind of companies like Apple are running our lives, and putting out these kind of products. And RoboCop in the original, I think, was kind of that ultimate product, that kind of like ultimate kind of consumer product for our personal greed. And you got to run down Detroit. So RoboCop was pretty much a future that we could have lived in. And in this new version, comparing the two, you got less violence in the new version, and it's more focused on CGI. And there's no comedy whatsoever in the new version. When I saw the pictures of what RoboCop looked like, just in general, and when I saw the trailer, I was very skeptical. I thought this movie was going to be a watered-down version of RoboCop. It was the sequels that sucked, but I was hoping they wouldn't go back to that with another terrible RoboCop movie. And obviously they're trying to resurrect this franchise, but they still have the Ed 209, but in this version, they're like huge. They're like a story tall. As to in the original version, are they that big in the original? I don't remember. But in this version, they're not prone to stairs. And I've given away a few spoilers already, but it flows a little bit, the story flows a little bit like the original, but in many different ways and different concepts. But the concept that I don't like the most, because what I like about this movie is, what I like about the new version is the CGI and the effects and the way they told the story. It is a surprisingly enjoyable movie, even if you are a fan of the original. But what I don't like about it is, in the original, they erased Murphy's memories, because they are putting him out as a product to use. So he lost the memories of his wife and kids, and he had to gain them back. But once he gained them back, he couldn't really go back to that life. Murphy knew he couldn't go back to being human. But in this version, they're trying to justify the fact that he could go back to his life as a human being with his wife and kids. And he does do that. And he wakes up with his memories. And in the original, he didn't. And that's the part where I don't like. Because he just could not adjust. I just don't think he should adjust back to a normal life. I think his wife and kids shouldn't even have been in the movie. And who was RoboCop underneath that suit? Nothing. And that's still the tragic thing about this character, is he doesn't have, I don't think people really think about this because it is hard to stomach. He doesn't have a body. They discarded the body, and me and my girlfriend were just cringing at this because they did take him apart to show him that he had no body, and he was just crying like, oh God, there's nothing left, you can see like his heart pumping and his organs and his brain. It was just disgusting. And that was where you kind of did grow an emotional investment in the way that you did with the first one, but you didn't get this, I didn't get the same emotional investment with whoever this new actor's name was, as I did with Peter Weller in the first one. And they made his death so brutal in the first movie because you had to get an emotional investment, because he was only in the movie for like 15 minutes before he was killed. But I did not feel very invested with this new Murphy because he's sort of he's more of the modern day jock than really anything else. But corporate greed is still there. And I enjoyed seeing Michael Keaton again. But if they make a sequel to these, I hope, first off, I hope they're better than RoboCop 2 and 3, because those are catastrophes. And I really don't know what to say at this point. I wish they had erased his memory like they did in the first one. And again, it was a PG-13 movie, so they had to include a car bomb. And yeah, RoboCop. This new RoboCop, if you're a fan of the original, you can enjoy this version. Thank you.